This video has been years in the making, but I wanted to make sure that I had all of it compiled in a way that was super easily digestible and really, really helpful for you. I've been working in social media for over a decade before Instagram even existed, and I have seen platforms come and go, many of them. I've seen trends come and go, and I've seen about 9 million freakouts about the algorithm changing. So I've seen a lot, I've experienced a lot. Particularly in these last 2 years, I wanted to challenge myself and challenge the platforms and figure out what really makes them tick and how can I use them to work for me instead of against me. Because I know that it can feel like sometimes social media is rigged against you, but in actuality, that very fact and concept can work in your favor in a really big way, if you know what you're doing, and if you know the 7 fundamental truths I'm about to share in this video. So you may remember last week I talked about an influencer on Instagram who a few years ago had 2 million followers and couldn't sell 26 t-shirts. If you do that math, that is absurd, but unfortunately it's not rare. The broke creator economy is bigger than ever before because you're constantly being told to chase after followers, subscribers, work with the algorithm, do all these things, working your butt off to try and get some sort of reward, but yet you're not seeing a dime for what you're doing. And that is a big issue. And so that is something that I want to tackle today so that you can truly understand how to have a clear intention and how to monetize things on your own terms. Before we get into it, if you're new here, my name's Sunny. If you're not, welcome back. This channel is dedicated to making entrepreneurship available to everyone because I truly do believe that entrepreneurship is a vehicle to freedom and equity, and it allows you to create your unique impact on this world, which we all are capable of doing. I've been an entrepreneur for over a decade, and it has been a wild ride. And in the last 5 years, my business has truly skyrocketed. And what I want to do with this channel is be able to reverse engineer the success that I've had so that I can help you create your own. A small thing you can do to help me with this mission is to hit that like button so we can reach more people in the algorithm. And if you want to connect on a deeper level, I have created a sacred space for this amazing community on this channel, and you can check out the link in the description below. So let's get into the 7 fundamental truths of social media so that you can use it and it doesn't use you. Number 1, the rules of engagement. Number 2, defining success and monetization on your own terms. Number 3, secret to cracking the code. Number 4 is changing algorithms and the creator rabbit hole. And number 5 is 3 types of content that are vital to your success on social. And then sabotaging your success and what you could be doing to make things harder on yourself. And finally, accurately measuring your success in the best way. Number 1 is, you probably already know this, but these social platforms are big businesses and they have their own metrics for success. And if you're only measuring your success on social media based on what they care about, it becomes a losing battle. So what matters most to these platforms across the board? Attention, eyeballs, and time spent on the platforms, because these 3 things are how they make money. And you as a user, if you follow their rules of engagement, your job is to make sure that you are feeding their algorithms and feeding these platforms with as much attention, eyeballs, and time, and then you get rewarded. But the reason that this is a losing battle and a really challenging way to measure your own success on social media platforms is something called fame scarcity. And I want you to listen really, really closely to this interview on the Armchair Expert podcast with the former CEO of Google and what he had to say about fame scarcity.
What's the scarcest thing in a world full of everything? Fame. Because it's the one thing that everyone doesn't have.
Yeah.
So you'll have huge competition over fame.
Mm-hmm.
One way to understand social networks is that every 10 years, there's a new set of 18-year-olds, if you will, who want to become famous.
Yeah.
And they look at the 28-year-olds in the previous social network and they say, I want that. I just have that talent and so forth. But those positions are taken. So the new social network comes off with new players. We saw this with YouTube. We saw this with Snapchat. We've seen this with Instagram. And we're clearly seeing it with TikTok.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, there'll be one after it.
Pretty interesting. And the reason that this really shines a light on why chasing the metrics that only matter to the platform as opposed to creating your own definition of success becomes a problem and a losing battle. Because if you look at a study that came out a few years ago in 2017, it actually talks about the fact that only 1% of videos on YouTube, for example, go viral, which is 1 million+ views. But how many people on this platform are aiming and working their faces off to try and hit that 1%? A lot. But the game is rigged. because not everybody can be in that 1%. And so if you're only ever chasing the vanity metrics and going viral and hitting the 1%, you're constantly going to be frustrated. But there is a better way. And to really drive this point home, according to another study, 0.0086% of the population is actually famous. So again, the math adds up, and it doesn't necessarily work in your favor to chase fame. Instead, like I said, there's a more rewarding way to do this and to create your own fame and your own authority, which I'm gonna get into. This is where defining social media success and monetization on your own terms is vitally important to being able to play the long game and to achieve the success that you're actually looking for. So I wrote 2 words here, chase versus control, because these are really the only 2 avenues when it comes to social media. The first is that losing battle that I was just talking about, and the second puts you in control of the game and allows you to create the success that you want. So why I said chase is because, as you know, because we just talked about it, these platforms are focused on time spent on the platform, eyeballs, and attention. And if you are constantly chasing those metrics and that outcome, you're gonna lose, because the algorithm is gonna move at a pace and introduce new things that you're constantly trying to keep up with. And it puts you always behind what they have and what they're doing. And yes, are you able to capitalize on some of the changes in order to create this viral growth? For sure. Does it happen for people? Absolutely. But here's the catch about that. If you're only ever chasing the vanity metrics and viral growth, going viral without a clear intent behind what you're doing on social media is like getting rich in Monopoly money. It's useless. It doesn't benefit you at all, but yeah, it definitely benefits the platform because it leads to attention, eyeballs, and time spent on the platform. And like I mentioned last week when I was talking about passive income streams, when I mentioned things like AdSense, it is a volume play. You need to have a big audience in order for it to actually start generating a good amount of revenue for you, which puts you in this position to constantly be chasing. So what I have learned over the years on all these different platforms is this. There is a secret and a formula to success on social media that I've come up with. Intent plus relevancy plus you. You have to go into the game of social media, and if I could turn back time, this is what I would do. But through a lot of time spent, a lot of trying things, and really being a guinea pig for you, I now clearly understand that if I had gone into this with a clear intent, it wouldn't take a very big audience to achieve the results that I wanted. Just because I have 500,000 subscribers on YouTube does not mean they're all engaged, because I spent time chasing in the beginning and trying to figure out how to get more without really understanding that that isn't what it takes. I have clients who have less than 100 subscribers that are making $10,000 a month because they have a clear intent, they're making relevant content to their ideal audience and viewer, and they're making an impact and becoming the authority to that group of people, and they're basing it off of themselves. So they're not constantly trying to be somebody else or chase another trend or try and fit the mold of what an algorithm wants based on a new feature. Without getting clear on these 3 factors before you start on social media, 1, you're setting yourself up for constant frustration and a headache and feeling like you're not getting anywhere, even if you are. And 2, you basically have a boss because you are at the mercy of your viewers and the algorithm to tell you whether or not you're successful instead of dictating success for yourself. We have a saying in my business that specific equals sales, monetization, opportunity. Broad equals broke. When you go broad and you have no idea why you're posting on social media, what you're supposed to post, and you're just constantly filling it with random content, you're not feeding the algorithm the information it needs to actually benefit you. All right, so what is the secret to actually cracking the code and creating success on your own terms on social? 2 key factors. That's it. It is truly this simple, but you have to have both. Who are you trying to reach? And what do you want to be known for? Now, this can come in a multitude of forms, but like I said, if you only focus on who you're trying to reach, without knowing what you want to be known for or the clear intent behind your content, your channel, your account, you're going to be again at the mercy of the viewers, because the minute they get bored of you, your content's going to die. But if you know what you want to be known for in addition to who you want to reach, you're constantly going to be able to win with your audience and within the algorithm, and by creating a metric for success on your own terms. Let me give you a clear example of this. I have a client who works in real estate, and for a long time, he was trying to be known as an expert in the real estate industry, period, end of story. The problem with that is that you're in this broad category competing against so many other people, and you haven't honed in on exactly who you're trying to reach. And instead of making it broad, he then turned super specific. He wanted to teach specific sales strategies to realtors. So he knows who he's trying to reach and what he wants to be known for. That same client has now generated over $4 million from 28,000 subscribers in the last 2 years. So how do you crack the code on social? And my goodness, I have come up with this and created this over the last couple of years. But like I said, if I had this before I even started, so if you're starting from zero, you're welcome, because this really is the key to cracking the code and creating success for yourself. The code on any social platform stands for content, optimization, development, and expansion. These apply to anything you do on social to create growth. So when I say content, it's ensuring that you're creating content specific to who you want to reach and what you want to be known for. When I say optimize, ensuring that you know the rules of each platform and what it takes to optimize your content for that platform. For example, on YouTube, are you ensuring that you're optimizing your videos correctly in the back end before you hit publish? And then development is making sure you're developing the content in a way that favors the platform and the algorithm and works to get those metrics that they care about: attention, eyeballs, and time spent. So for example, on Instagram right now, Reels are the hotness. So could you create content instead of just a static post in the form of a Reel to get more reach, because the algorithm is pushing that right now? And then expansion is, are you expanding your reach outside of just that platform? So ensuring that you're not just relying on one social media platform, but you're also building things off of social media. Are you taking your audience on Instagram, your audience on YouTube, and getting them onto an email list that you actually do own? Because you don't own the algorithms and you don't own your accounts on social media. They could change it any day, any time, and it could completely devastate you, your brand, your business, and your reach. So you always want to make sure that you're creating an expansion and a backup of your audience off of social media as well. And I've talked about this before and the 4 fundamentals to growing my business, but there's also a flywheel when it comes to social media. So what that flywheel looks like when it comes to social media is this. Your viewer has to come first, most important. Then you want to make relevant content to your viewer. What do they care about? What do they want to learn from you? What do they want to take away from you? What kind of content resonates with them the most? From there, the algorithm then starts to categorize your account, your channel, your Instagram account, your TikTok account, whatever it may be. Algorithm categorization. I apologize for my terrible handwriting. And then from there, the algorithm starts to then use its internal traffic sources, which every single social media platform has internal traffic sources, uses its internal traffic sources to reach more viewers like that haven't heard of you yet. This is how you create momentum. This is how you create growth on social media. You have to know who you're reaching, particularly making content that's relevant to them that they care about. Then the algorithm can work with you and work in your favor because it understands who you're reaching and what kind of content you create. From there, it's going to use its internal traffic sources to get more viewers just like that. Why? Because it benefits the platform. Because then you're going to get more attention, more time spent, more eyeballs, period. So what is the opposite of that? And what is the thing that keeps so many people on social media frustrated, stuck, paralyzed, and broke? It starts like this. You create content based on hope. You're creating content because you think it's going to do well, but you don't really know why you're making it or who you're making it for. So how do you actually know what success looks like other than comparing yourself to everybody else? So when I hear people say I'm not growing fast enough or my account doesn't have enough followers, I always say compared to what? What is your metric for success? Because it's not all about the vanity metrics. Are people actually paying attention? Are they saving your content? Are they watching your entire video? That's what you should care about. Hope content is based on ego, which is a losing battle because all you're trying to achieve is those vanity metrics so you can say, hey, look how viral I went. But again, going viral doesn't always work in your favor. And doing it this way means you're making a bunch of different kinds of content with a bunch of different intent behind it. And the algorithm is like, what are you doing? I'm so confused. The algorithm doesn't know how to categorize you, and therefore it doesn't know how to help you reach more people because you're going so broad and so all over the place that it's going, I don't know what this account is about, so therefore how the heck am I supposed to use the traffic sources to reach more people because I don't even know who it's trying to reach. And that leads to crushing your ego, basing your success only on vanity metrics, and getting no growth. And a sad face. Tell me if you can relate. Now again, what you have to understand is this is brutal for you as a creator, as an entrepreneur, as a brand. But in a very sick way, it benefits every single one of these platforms. Take TikTok, for example, which for me is one of the most fascinating platforms. I don't really use it. It's not my jam, but it is a fascinating platform because their algorithm works slightly differently in how things get seen. And it is a little bit more nuanced, but it creates this copycat effect. And it creates this effect where every user is trying to chase that one hit, that one success. What does that do? It keeps you, the user, on the platform. It keeps you consuming more content. It keeps you giving it your eyeballs, which then leads to more success for TikTok because it can say that our active users are up. Therefore, it's more attractive to advertisers, brands, etc. that are gonna pay the platform. Just remember that your sadness and that your lack of clarity also leads to cash flow for the platform, when in fact, there's a way for both you and the platform to win if you do it this way. So the truth about changing algorithms and the creator rabbit hole. If you haven't picked up on this by now, changing algorithms tends to just mean that the platforms have come up with something that's gonna keep you on the platform longer, trying to figure it out, trying to use it, trying to capitalize on it. But is it necessary all the time? Absolutely not. And do these algorithm changes actually need to affect you? No, I can tell you that with confidence because generally, for me, they never really have, because there is a big difference on every platform between the features and the fundamentals. Features are the new shiny things. Features are YouTube Shorts, Reels, etc. Fundamentals are the fundamentals of how those platforms were built, how they work, and how they employ so many people, because the fundamentals is what they're always going to base every single thing that they do on because it's what keeps the lights on. So for example, with YouTube Shorts are a pretty new thing. They're a new shiny thing. They're getting a lot of attention because the platform and algorithm are obviously trying to push them because it brings in more ad revenue, etc., and more eyeballs, etc. You get the point now. But having been on YouTube now for almost 6 years, I can tell you that the shorts, the features, the new shiny things, there's been a lot. There's been lives, there's been premieres, etc. They all come and go. Do they have a place and a purpose? Sure. Do you have to use all of them? No. Because the fundamentals of YouTube, that is the search engine. Period, end of story. It's owned by the largest search engine in the world, and the biggest fundamental behind how YouTube makes money is through that search capability and discovery. And that is how the platform works. So that is never going to really change. So it can come out with all the new shiny features, it can copy other platforms, it can try and capitalize on those things. But it doesn't take away from the fact that if you just stick to doing the fundamentals on YouTube, you're still gonna win. So changing algorithms shouldn't truly affect you if you stick to the basics and the fundamentals of making good, relevant content for your ideal audience, client, and viewer. If you continue to do that, you're still going to see success, you're gonna see momentum, you're gonna see growth. And unfortunately, what happens when I call the creator rabbit hole is when all these new features come out, it's an immediate distraction. And it can distract you from the core fundamentals of what has worked for you in the chase of trying to figure out something new that could work for you, which sometimes can actually work to your disadvantage. And the reason I say that is because, as I mentioned earlier, the algorithm needs to categorize you in order to understand how to use its traffic sources. And now categorization in the algorithm isn't just about who and what you're serving and what you want to be known for. It's also about the kind of content you're making. So again, for example, if you're on YouTube and you're creating shorts, or you're creating long live streams or really, really long videos, let's say like 40 minutes plus, those should go on separate channels at this point, because shorts and super long content can mess with the fundamentals of what your channel has been about leading up to this point. So if you've been making normal YouTube content, you haven't been doing live streams, you haven't been doing anything else, that should be the way that your channel stays. And if you want to create shorts, you might want to move them to a different channel, because Shorts have different viewer behavior, as do live streams, as do podcasts that are put on YouTube. Shorts are gonna have this more viral, surface level audience that isn't as invested, but maybe you're gonna get a bit more reach. But if you reach a more viral audience with that short, that audience is probably not gonna care about your fundamental content. Therefore, the viewership for your fundamental content is probably gonna go down. Same thing with live streams and long form content. That long form content brings in a very specific viewer, probably not a big audience, but a really in-depth audience who wants to pay attention to long form content moving forward. And if you are noticing viewer behavior on that long form piece of content or that live stream, so is the algorithm. And if it's working in your favor and people are paying close attention, the algorithm is gonna want you to make more content like that. If it's not, then it's going to hurt the rest of your content because the algorithm is gonna say, oh, that long video didn't really do very well. We're gonna stop suggesting the rest of their content as well. So this is another layer and element to algorithm categorization now. Focus on the fundamentals, that makes your job the easiest, and focus on the very basics of your ideal viewer, making relevant content to them in the fundamental way that the platform is built, and try and keep shiny object syndrome on separate channels. Now, when it comes to something like Instagram, it's a little bit different. You can use these features to your advantage. So if you've noticed that Reels are getting this big push in the algorithm because it's creating a ton of attention, like I said earlier, shift your content slightly. Still make good content that's relevant to your ideal viewer and client and follower, but maybe shift the format to fit the reel. The 3 types of content that you need to use to grow on any social platform. These are based on what I call timeless versus trends. Timeless content is content that will continue to work for you, build your audience, and be an advantage to you for years and years and years to come. It never goes out of style, and it's never not going to be something that people want to watch or consume. Whereas trends are things that are a short burst of attention, but oftentimes don't have a ton of long-term value to you, your brand, or your business. But there is a purpose for all of them. So we have viral at the top is the first, and then we have depth, and then we have evergreen. So evergreen content is gonna bring in the most targeted, ideal viewer for you. And if you simply just focus on evergreen, you are going to have an incredibly loyal audience. Is the audience going to be huge? Not necessarily, but incredibly loyal, incredibly specific, which leads to sales, opportunities, and monetization. Depth videos really are for your existing base of subscribers or followers. Depth content is what differentiates you from the competition because it's truly about sharing your story, sharing what you're about, sharing your values, and really relating to your viewers so they get to know you on a human level and care versus just getting to know you as a teacher or a viral prankster, etc. Now, viral content is gonna give you a bigger reach. It's generally more beginner style topics or easier to digest topics. And that viral content is, yes, going to bring a new audience in, but then you're gonna wanna nurture them with depth and with evergreen to make sure that you're still having relevant audience members and viewers consume your content and not just anyone and everyone. Because the issue with just creating viral content based off of trends and what other people are doing and external success and vanity metrics is this. Let me give a very basic example. Let's say you have a channel about dogs. So if you have a channel about dogs and you're doing well, you're creating evergreen videos, you're creating tutorials, FAQ videos, how-tos, etc. And you've also done some depth videos about why you care about dogs so much or your story about how you got your dog. And then you decide, oh my gosh, I saw this other pet channel and they did a video on this viral cat trend that's going on, and you make a cat viral video. All of a sudden, your channel is gonna bring in cat viewers. So you're gonna have all these people watching this video. You're gonna go viral. And then when you go back to your fundamentals and what your core audience cares about on your channel, these people won't care, but they've subscribed to your channel. So the virality will kill the momentum for your fundamental content that you actually care about making. This is why it's so important that even if you wanna make viral content, it has to be relevant to your ideal viewer. The very basic and fundamental part of creating social media content is that you need to know the intent and the outcome of why you're creating the content and be very clear about it so that you know who you're reaching and that the algorithm can help you reach more of those people. From there, you wanna make sure that the content you're creating is relevant to those people. And then finally, you wanna ensure that there's a clear call to action for that viewer to take action to become an audience member of yours off of social media so that you can actually communicate with them without worrying about the algorithm dictating your success. So let's talk about how you could be sabotaging your own success. A big piece of how you could be sabotaging your own success is that you don't know your why. You don't know your intent behind the content you're creating. You don't know really what you're trying to achieve, and you don't really know how you want to monetize it. That's okay. Social media is still about experiment. My motto, as you know, is test, fail, learn, grow, repeat. My channel is a prime example of this. When I got started by accident. So I've made a ton of mistakes along the way. I've made a bunch of videos that I wish I never made, but that's why I'm able to talk to you and tell you from my experience why this is so important. And truly what makes you uncopyable, and I mentioned this in another video that I created about how to create a course that sells, you can check out here and in the description below, is you really have to understand what your uncopyable niche is. Ultimately, it's based off of you, which I mentioned earlier in the formula for creating success on social media: intent plus relevancy plus you. You are what matters. You are what stands out. You are a brand. So what I always say is that your most successful brand, business, whatever it may be, is closely related to your own experience. And it makes it very easy to make content on social media that your ideal viewer will care about, because your ideal viewer is a mirror for you. So think about your own journey, your own zero to hero journey. What's a transformation you've been through? What's something that you could teach other people? What's your expertise? What's your experience? All of those things factor into what took you from zero to hero. And then everything in between becomes your content and becomes ultimately what it is that you can monetize, whether that's an online business in the e-commerce space, whether that's an online course, whatever it may be. It's hidden in your journey and your story. Now, I have a bunch of videos that talk about this and dive into this deeper, so you want to check those out in the link in the description. But just really think about, what's an obstacle I've overcome? If I could teach anything to anyone, if I had to go on stage right now for a TED Talk with zero preparation, what would I talk about? That oftentimes is where your best content's gonna come from. And the other thing that could be sabotaging your success, and this is super common and I totally understand it, and it is all about experimenting, so this is up to you. You are your own boss, but jumping on trends or features instead of fundamentals without really having a clear intent of why you're doing it, and really just doing it for the vanity metrics. So I always like to ask myself before I post anything on social media, why am I doing this? What's my purpose? If it's only to feed my own ego, and if it's hope content instead of really intentional content, it may not be the best thing to post or share, because ultimately it's just gonna confuse the algorithm. So if you wanna ask yourself that before you post anything, it's probably gonna lead to a lot more peace of mind, ease, and it's gonna make your job easier, because you're not gonna have to create as much content, but the content you create will be super, super intentional. Let's talk about the metrics. So this is the 7th fundamental truth of social media. And these are the things that I pay attention to now to dictate my own success. And it has made me so much happier and so much more peaceful, and truly so much more creative. Something that can happen when you are only dictating your success by vanity metrics and by what the platforms care about is you lose your soul. You lose your creativity, you lose your joy, your peace, and your happiness. So how I measure success, and the most important factors to me are CTR. Does that mean people are actually clicking on the content? And not just everybody. I don't care if everybody clicks on the content. Are my core people, my core audience, do they care about the content that I'm creating? And the next thing is retention. This goes for any platform. On Instagram, it could mean, are people saving your post? Are they sharing your post? On YouTube, it means, are they watching your whole video? Are they actually caring about the content you create? Because you can create content, but if people are just scrolling past it, or they're watching 1 second of your video, then they don't really care. And that tells you that that flywheel of creating momentum on social media is not really gonna work for you. The third thing, this is gonna sound a little interesting, but this is the most important thing. And this is something that I've truly shifted in the last 2 years. I don't look at how many people and their eyeballs have been on my content. What I do pay attention to, and you can see this in the back end of any platform, is it hitting the audience that I want it to hit? And the easy way for me to quantify that is my core audience is a mirror for me, my journey, my values, my intention, and my story. So am I hitting that in my demographics? And is it actually impacting them? Meaning, are they commenting? Are they sharing it? Do they care? Am I getting direct messages about it? That's how I quantify success, because that is within my control. I know what kind of content they're gonna care about because I know my audience. I know my ideal viewer. I know myself. If I didn't know those things, I would be hoping that it hits for somebody, and that creates a really big problem. The fourth thing is action. Like I said, is your audience actually taking action? Are the people who are paying attention, whether that's one person or 1 million? Are they taking action? Remember at the beginning of this video, I mentioned the influencer who had 2 million followers but couldn't sell 26 t-shirts? This is where action comes in. Is your audience actually taking action on the things that you are creating? Do you have a clear intention for what they need to take action on? So in my case, are they wanting to become clients? Are they sending a message? Are they responding with something super in depth? Is it hitting them in the brain and in the heart enough to actually take action, to become a part of my community, to subscribe to my email list? Those are the actions that I care about. Now, the fifth thing, this is gonna sound a little cheesy, but honestly, this has made a huge difference for my peace of mind in the last couple of years. Are you happy? Are you proud of the content you're creating? When you look at what you're creating, and this is my barometer for success and how I really measure if I'm doing things that make me happy and feel proud, is I go, okay, if I'm an 80-year-old woman and I look back on this, am I gonna be really proud of that post? And of course, not everything's gonna be like that. Sometimes I just wanna share a picture of my dog, but for the most part, I wanna make sure that if I'm creating something in this world and I'm adding to the noise on social media, I'm happy with it and I'm proud of it. And if I'm happy and I'm proud of it, I know it's gonna impact and influence at least one person. And that's what it's all about. It's so easy to get caught up in vanity metrics and wanting to have 1 million followers and all these things. But like I said at the beginning, that's putting you in a constant chase. It's constantly putting you behind. And it's constantly making you feel a little bit inadequate. So instead, focus on the people that do care, that you are impacting. And think about it in real world terms. Even if you have 10 people who follow you on social media, that's 10 real human beings. And if I was in a room with 10 real human beings right now, I would feel a big responsibility to actually provide value to them and deliver what they're looking for. And make sure that I am impacting them in a way that's going to allow them to create their own success. Or whatever that looks like for you. If you had 10 real people in a room right now with you, what would you want to share with them? What would make them listen? It's a good way to think about it. To wrap this up, and like I said, kudos to you for being here. If this resonated with you and you enjoyed it, hit that like button. I really do hope it gave you a bit of a sigh of relief. And it's what I've been working on for the last couple of years to truly understand this and to completely redefine what success looks like for myself and for my business and on my social media accounts. You'll notice I am not super active on social. YouTube is my most consistent. That's my core platform and I like to focus in one place. But the reason that I have really taken the gas pedal off of trying to be everywhere and doing all of the things is because it doesn't make me happy. And it feels like I'm constantly trying to prove something to somebody else instead of trying to really impact the people that I care about. And I wanted to make this video to help you see that and to kind of shed the light on it and say that it is very possible to create a ton of success with a very small audience. I'm talking like real small. So it doesn't matter where you are right now. And if you're at 0 right now, oh my gosh, this should help you a lot grow in the right way. And I'm so excited to hear how it does impact you. And I hope you let me know. You can send me a message on Instagram. You can put a comment in the comments below. And I'll leave you with this. The key to success on social media is what I mentioned earlier: intent plus relevancy plus you. That equals success. You matter. And the problem with chasing after algorithms and trying to just get the vanity metrics is you lose sight of yourself. And all of a sudden you're just creating content for the sake of creating content and for trying to rack up the monopoly money of vanity metrics, which ultimately is a losing battle because the algorithm is always gonna do things to keep you on your toes and try and keep you on the platform. But again, when you focus on the very basic fact that you just need to make relevant content for the right people, for the people that you actually care about, it makes the whole thing a lot easier. So don't lose yourself in the chase for fame, as I mentioned earlier, and that fame scarcity. We always want what we can't have. But the reality is you can create your own fame, your own authority with a very loyal community, whether that's big or small. I hope you take that from this video. Are you with me? I made a video on how to monetize any skill, and I hope you check that out next because it should get your ideas flowing on how to create monetization on your own terms. Thank you so much for watching. This channel is dedicated to making entrepreneurship available to everyone, so I hope you take a second to hit that like button, and I will see you in the next video.